So welcome everyone to this macros webinar. Thank you so much for joining me. This is my first time doing something like this, so I would definitely appreciate feedback at the end. And this is being recorded, so there will be several people that will probably be watching this on the replay. So I want to be mindful of that. If you have a question along the way, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question, because if you have the question, probably somebody else does too. And I'd like to be this more than just me talking. I do have time at the end for questions as well. So if you prefer, you can hold your question to the end. But if there's a burning question right when we're talking about something and you want to ask it, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question. All right. So welcome to everyone. And there's me. If you can't laugh at yourself, then I don't know, you're taking life too serious. So I like to have fun every once in a while. I like to have a lot of laughter. But I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about myself, about Coach Mel's, and kind of where this whole thing came from. So Coach Mel, I have been here in Harrington, Coach Mel's Group Fitness for just about 4.5 years. We're coming up on our 5-year anniversary, which is really exciting. And I opened Coach Mel after I had quite a health scare. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in June of 2015. And I immediately decided to go undergo a bilateral mastectomy. And that was because my mother had died at a very young age of breast cancer. So I wasn't messing around with it. At the time that I did that, I was in really good shape. I was doing a lot of exercise. I was really paying attention to what I was eating and being healthy. And I really recovered quickly from that surgery. Now, for 2 reasons. First off, I caught my cancer very, very early. I was a stage 1A. I did the bilateral mastectomy. My margins were clean. My lymph nodes were clean. I did not need any further treatment. So that was a huge blessing. And secondly, I was healthy before I needed to be healthy. And that's what's really become my mantra here at Coach Mel's. And that's why I do what I do. I struggled after that to go back to work and sit behind a desk. I wanted to be more involved in helping others be healthy as well. So I got my personal training certification. I started teaching some classes at a local community center, really fell in love with it and decided to open Coach Mel's. It was a major career change. I was an accountant for 25 years, but this was something that I felt was my calling at this point in my life. And really feel that had I not gone through that health scare and got through it as well as I did, I'm not sure that Coach Mel's would have existed. So I am thankful for that. So particularly talking about tonight, this isn't about fitness, this is about nutrition. So I will start by saying that I am not a nutritionist, I am not a dietitian. This all came from me taking a seminar about macros. Now, I took this about 2 months ago, and for myself at that time, I'm not embarrassed to say I'm 50 years old. I was starting to put some weight on, like so many of us did during COVID. Unfortunately, I'm not exempt from that. Just because I'm a fitness instructor doesn't mean that I don't struggle with food, because I do as well. But I was noticing that my clothes were starting to shrink in the dryer. I was noticing that I was feeling fat in areas when I was doing squats or lunges or different things. And I really knew that it was time for me to pay attention to what I was or was not doing. One of the things that I definitely was doing, and we're going to talk more about, was I was just eating to eat. I was doing mindless eating, as I call it, and I needed to get that under control. After I took this seminar, it really sunk in. I had done counting the calories before, but there was something about this and the whole macro piece that made it really intriguing to me. It wasn't something I had done before. I don't like to do things that are difficult. Most people don't, but I wanted to do something for myself. Another major factor is I have arthritis in my knees. And I was noticing that arthritis was kicking up. I was having more swelling in my knees, And I knew that part of that had to do with the fact that I was not being careful about my diet. I was eating a lot more sugar, and I was doing that mindless eating, a lot of carbohydrates, which I know isn't the healthiest way. So I started to really pay attention to my macros. I had such good results that I decided that I wanted to bring that same information to all of you. And that is why I put together this webinar. So what we are going to talk about tonight is macros. What are they and how do they work? So a lot of times we hear stuff like macros this, the macros that, do this, do that, but we don't necessarily know what they are or how they work. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to, of course, talk about why most diets don't work. Mindful eating, as I spoke about. So it is something that I featured in my newsletter, my weekly newsletter I did a 3-part series. Those are all now out on my website if you want to read them. We're going to talk a little bit about macro guidelines, and then I'm going to show you how I use the Use It app for my tracking of my calories and my macros. And then, like I said, I will leave time for questions at the end, but please feel free to jump in if you do have questions while we go along. So macros, what are they? So first off, it's short for macronutrients. And it's what all of our food is made up of. You've heard it before, and you may not have even realized that that's what it was. So our fat, our carbohydrates, and our proteins are our macros. That's what our food is made up of. And those macros are each assigned a caloric value. So our fat, so think about when you're looking at a food label, and we will look at one in a little while. That fat content is always towards the top of the label. Every gram of fat in your food is worth 9 calories. Carbohydrates, every gram is 4 calories. And with proteins, every gram is 4 calories. So now we're going to do a little bit of math. Don't be scared by it. It's not hard math. Okay. So there's a couple of things on this that I noticed. If you could see here, 12 servings per container, and then it says serving size 1 pack. This was because it was a multi-pack of these Ritz mini cheese cracker sandwiches. So 12 servings is 1 pack is not 12 servings. This is a small individual pack. But what I did over here is I'm showing you how if you take the fat in grams, there are 8 grams of fat, and you multiply it by the 9 calories per gram, we get 72 of the calories are coming from fat. Same thing with our carbohydrates, 16 grams, I'm pulling that from the label. That means 64 calories are from our carbohydrates. And then protein, there's 2 grams of protein in this particular cracker, 2 grams times 4 calories per gram, 8 calories. Now, that only comes out to 144, yet on the label it says 150. I don't have an answer for why that is. I did a couple of different calculations on a couple of different packages, and they're around what the calories are showing. Maybe they wanted to round it up, I'm not sure, but they don't necessarily always come out 100% perfect. That's okay, we don't have to be perfect. All right, so let's look at them again. So looking at our macros, part 2, and this we'll discuss in more detail later about these percentages, but this is how you would determine the percent of each macro. So taking that 72 calories that we had in fat, we divide it by the total, which we know we came up with 144. So 50% of our calories from this particular snack is coming from fat. Same thing on the carbs, the 64 that we calculated divided by 144 is 44%. And then our protein, it was 8 calories divided by the total calories. So 6% of our calories in this item is coming from protein. Before I go any further, that was a lot of stuff that I just threw at you. If there's any questions, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask away. All right, I'm going to continue. So most of us know the basic principle of weight loss, right? We have to run our bodies with a calorie deficit. The amount of calories that we are expending has to be greater than the calories that we are eating. Super simple, but there's a little bit more to it, and that's what we're going to go into next. So there are different ways that our bodies burn calories. Our resting metabolic rate consists of about 60 to 70% of the calories that we burn on a daily basis. So that is just if we did nothing, we would burn up 60 to 70% of our calories. Our exercise and activity is 20 to 30%. Now that can range greatly for people depending on how active they are. Now, exercise is part of it, activity is part of it. So, walking out to your car from the store and things like that, that counts towards it. And obviously, the more exercise we do, the higher we're going to be in that for burning our calories. Now, the thermic effect of food, or the TEF, it only accounts for 10%, but basically what this means is it's what it takes our body to break down those foods that we're eating. It's specifically the calories that we burn because we ate food and our body now needs to work with that food. So we're going to take a little bit of a closer look on that one. Our calories, there's several things that happen when we eat that food: the digestion, the absorption, just moving that food through the body. And then, of course, there's some food storage that happens. All of that activity that's happening is burning calories. But the thing that I want you to see down here, and this will come into play a little bit more as we go into how we're going to divide up our macros, is that most of our calories that are burned from TEF is from the protein that we eat. Then it goes to carbohydrates, and then it goes to fat. Protein is a really super important part of our digestion process, also a super part of our muscle build. So that goes with the exercise of things. All right, so why diets don't work. So an interesting fact, and this came from the seminar that I took, that 43% of Americans follow some sort of diet trend. You'll see that I put that word in bold and italics, and that was done very much on purpose to say it's trends. Unfortunately, I hate the word diet. I just really don't like it. Diet as a noun, saying the food that you're going to eat is fine, but to diet as a verb, I don't agree with. And here's the reasons why. The first thing that you think of when somebody says they're going on a diet is that they're going to deprive themselves of things that they enjoy, that you can't have that ice cream, that you can't have that treat. And it's not true. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. A lot of diets are really hard to follow. They're very restricting. Low carbs, high fat, low fat, no fat, fasting. There's just so many different things. And what happens when you get so restricted in what you're eating is you get mad about it. First off, you don't like the fact that you have those restrictions put on you, and you tend to only stick with it for a short amount of time. So it's not sustainable. You want something that is sustainable over the long run. We don't want something that has a start, and once we get to our goal, we stop, because then what happens? We see it happen all the time. People then get even heavier than they were before they started to diet. So that's why we're going to talk about how to have that balanced diet, how to not deprive ourselves of the foods that we like. Too few calories is also a big problem with diets. It causes a couple of things to happen. First off, your body just doesn't work right if it doesn't have enough calories. And it actually will go into like a starvation mode and kind of hold on to foods because it's just not getting enough. You're not going to have the energy level that you should have. You're always hungry, or you're planning your day around the food. We don't want food to be that all in all day long, all that we think about. And if you're constantly starving yourself, that's what's going to happen. And then, of course, there's those specialty diets. I'm not going to name any in particular, but where you have to buy their food. Their food can be, specialty foods and expensive. There's somewhere you have to go, and meet with people on a weekly basis and only eat their food. Well, what happens when you can't afford that anymore? What happens when you get sick of their food? What happens when you go back to a normal diet? Again, you're going to undo everything that you just did. So my moral of this story, don't diet. We're going to do our calories and our macros instead. All right. So counting calories. So most of what you see, and if we go back to that food label, you'll see it. So it's suggested that your calorie intake should be about 2,000 calories. Now there's a whole bunch of calculations that you can do to figure out what's the right amount of calories for you. We're going to look at that when we get to looking at the Lose It app, because that is going to figure it out for you. I will give you some cautions on this. Again, like we said earlier, you don't want to go too low. 2,000 is the average suggested for your average individual calorie intake. I would say between 1,500 and 2,000 is a good place to be. I would never go below 1,500. I really don't even like to see people below 1,800. And that's going to change a little bit as you do lose weight. That amount that you need to sustain your body mass is going to change. It is going to decrease. But we're going to take a look at that in the app. But here's the point about just counting calories. Can just counting calories work to help you lose weight? Absolutely, it can. But are you making the healthiest choices when you're just counting calories? So here's a very flippant example, is what I'll say. I can eat let's say I'm on 1,800 calories, okay? I could eat my 1,800 calories and have it be donuts, have it be ice cream, have it be maybe some sugary cereal. I'm just throwing some things out there, but I could stay within my calorie count. But I didn't really have the best foods for my body to run well, okay? So that's why we bring it to the next level and we layer in tracking your macros. Really paying attention to what are you having in protein, fats, and carbohydrates on a daily basis. Now, some of you right now are probably rolling your eyes and saying, oh my gosh, like that sounds like it's a lot of work. I don't want to do that. It honestly isn't. And it's really about finding the right tool to do it. Okay. So before we get into that, I would say these are probably the top two struggles that people have with food. I know they were definitely struggles for me, and going through this process has helped me with this. Eating the right portions. Look at all of that pasta on that plate. That is way more than a portion should be. So we need to think about the portions that we're eating, because I'd have to say, even if a person eats healthy, if they don't have their portions in check, they may be struggling to see any weight loss. And then the other one, and this was so me before I started doing this, sitting there on the couch, watching TV, mindlessly eating. I could easily, I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this, but I could easily take a bag of sweet potato chips from Aldi. I would sit on the couch and I would eat the entire bag in one sitting, because it was just good and I just kept going and I wasn't paying attention. And that's bad. That's a problem. So mindless or emotional eating, these two are what I would say were probably the top struggles. There's lots more, but I'd say those are top. So we need to think about mindful eating. So these are kind of some things to think about when it comes to deciding what foods you're going to eat. And I want to talk about each of one just really quickly. And like I said, you can go out to my website. I did a 3-part series on this, and I go into each one in a little bit more detail. But for tonight, I'm just going to brush on each of them quickly. So stopping and thinking about why you're eating. So like I was just saying, I was doing a lot of mindless eating, just eating because I was eating. But think about, why are you eating? And if the answer is not because I'm hungry, then you need to pause and really think about it. Are you eating just because? Are you eating because you're emotional, you're sad, you're happy, it doesn't matter what it is? Or are you eating just to eat? So number one, stop and think about why you're eating. 10-minute timer. I was guilty of this one too. So you just finished eating, whether it was lunch, dinner, whatever, and you feel like you're still hungry. Well, there's a good chance that your body hasn't even sent the message, your stomach hasn't sent the message to your brain to tell you that, hey, you ate and you're good, you're done. And you want something else. Instead of reaching for something else, set a 10-minute timer. Go do something else, distract yourself, walk out and get the newspaper or grab the mail or do something. Just distract yourself for 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes is up, if you do still truly feel hungry, then go ahead and have a little snack. But there is a good chance that in that time, your brain has been told that you're okay, you're full, and you don't need to eat anything else. This is a lot of times why we get that feeling of really being overstuffed, because we ate and then we kept eating because we probably ate too quickly too. And I don't even have that on here about slowing down, but probably ate too quickly. And then you end up not even realizing how full you are until it's too late. All right. Number 3, the celery rule. So those of you who read my newsletter know what this is. I kind of chuckle about it. This was from the seminar that I took. The celery rule is, if you feel hungry, okay, if you are hungry, if you are truly hungry, then you will go to that refrigerator. And if celery is there, you'll want to eat the celery. So why celery? Celery is kind of bland. It doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of flavor. Yes, it gives you some crunch and all that, but it's just that food that if you are truly hungry, and if celery is the only thing that you have to eat, then eat the celery, and that should help your hunger. All right, use something other than food as a reward. So, we do something great and we say, so here's a great example. I used to do this, not as bad, but I ran 3 miles today. I'm going to go have a half a pint of ice cream. Use something else as your reward. I ran my 3 miles. I'm going to go take a hot bath. Don't use food as a reward. Now, I'm not saying that you can't go out for a special dinner as a celebration, stuff like that. I would never take any of that away. But try not to use it as a reward for doing something, because then you get into that habit. Well, I'm going to do X so that I can eat Y. And we don't want that. That's not a healthy relationship with food either. All right, this one's pretty straightforward. Are you hungry or are you just thirsty? Grab a glass of water. Drink a glass of water before you eat something. That it might be just that you're thirsty, but your body is confusing that for hunger. So give that a try. Closing the kitchen at a certain time each night. That's pretty straightforward. Just saying, okay, after 8 o'clock, that's it. If I'm going to have a snack, it's got to happen before 8. But after 8 o'clock, that's it. We're not going to go back to the kitchen for anything else. This one, interesting too. Are you eating because of the time that it is? So we are so programmed, right? That, lunch happens at a certain time and dinner happens at a certain time. So that's where we kind of combine this with the number 1. Why are you eating? Are you eating because you're hungry, or you're eating because the clock says that it's time to eat? So again, that's one where, there's a good chance, because your body is programmed, there's a good chance you are hungry at noon each day. I know my stomach growls around noon. But just check in on that, because if you're not truly hungry, you don't have to eat right at that moment. Eating at the table. This is this is one that has gone by the wayside. When I was younger, that's all the only place that we ever ate. I'm guilty of this one. I eat sitting in front of the TV, which when you do that, that's programming your body that when you sit and eat, or when you sit and watch TV, you want to eat, right? That's probably where the most mindless eating takes place, is in front of the TV. And the other big thing that we do wrong with this one is I brought that whole bag of chips with me to the couch. And that's why it was so easy to just keep eating until the whole bag was gone. All right. And last but not least, give yourself a break. And what I mean by that is that you don't have to be perfect. Okay. It's okay to have that ice cream when you're craving that ice cream. It's okay to have a treat. Just be mindful about it and enjoy it. I also have a post on my website about eating a treat and the rules of eating a treat. Enjoy every bite of it. If you're eating something and you don't enjoy it, stop eating it, because it's not worth it. All right, I'm going to pause just for a second to grab a drink and ask if anyone has any questions. If you do, go ahead and unmute yourself. All right, I'm going to continue. So now we're going to get into kind of looking at where should our macros be. This did come from a dietitian, so this is not me making this up. This particular dietitian works for Zone Perfect. They make some protein bars and things like that. But this is kind of the guidelines that you can use for what we're calling general wellness. Now, this works for weight loss and it works for maintaining that weight loss. This is what I used. I used what's called the 40-30-30. So what that means is that each day I aim for, notice the words that I'm using, I aim for my calories from carbohydrates to be about 40% of my caloric intake. I aim for my protein to be at about 30%, and I aim for my fat to be at about 30%. Now, I want to show you, this can also be used for very specific goals and diets. So on the left-hand side here, if I was endurance training, so let's say I was training for a marathon. No, thank you, you've done one, I'm done. But let's say you were training for a marathon. You would shift those macros because of what your body needs during that type of training. Okay, so I would increase my calories from carbohydrates. Down here, C for energy. My carbohydrates are there for my energy. So I need that long-lasting energy if I'm doing a training. My 20 to 25% would be from protein. All right, protein for strength and recovery. So I'm taxing my muscles, whether it's because I'm doing some weight training or those, runs that I'm putting in. I want to make sure that I have the strength and the recovery for my muscles. And then 15 to 20% on the fat. So fat is the nourishment, but fat isn't going to give me the other things that I need specifically for that type of training. So that's why that level is lower than the 40-30-30 that we looked at. Now, I told you I don't like diets. Here's an example of why. Here's the keto diet and what the dietitian suggested your macros should be if you wanted to do a keto diet. Again, I am not a fan of this. 5% of your calories from carbohydrates. That is very, very difficult, because when you start looking at labels and when you start looking at everything that's your food, I mean, I've got raisins here, 31 grams of carbohydrates. I've got mixed nuts here, 7 grams of carbohydrates. I mean, you're talking, you can't eat anything that hardly has any carbohydrates in it. Protein, pretty low, only 20% protein. Again, protein is helping your muscles rebuild, especially after exercise. And look at this, 75% of your calories from fat. Wow. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of people have done keto diets. A lot of people have had amazing results. The dietitian that did the seminar spoke about how important a keto diet was for children that were having seizures. It has its right time and place. But if you're looking for something for your general well-being and that is sustainable for a long time, I just don't like where this is. Okay. So let's take a look at what I learned. So I have been now using the 40-30-30 macro tracking for about, I think, 5 weeks. I started in the beginning of March. Okay. And these are some things that I learned from doing this. First off, it's not that hard. Using an app, and the apps I'm going to show, the app that I'm going to show you, and the technology that is out in the world today is amazing. So all those calculations that I did back on the macro math, you don't have to do those because the app will do it for you. You don't have to calculate your calories. It's going to do it for you. And I'm going to show you all of that. So that was the first thing. It really wasn't as hard as I expected it to be. Huge thing. I wasn't just mindlessly eating anymore because I had to be accountable to myself because I was putting what I was eating into my app and seeing the numbers. Okay. So that's huge. It really made me think, and it made me choose what I ate differently. Okay. I still had ice cream. I still had a piece of cheesecake. I still had the things that I love. But I made other decisions during that day. Okay. I still, and you're going to see, I'm going to show you an actual day in the life of Coach Mel with her macro tracking. I'm still struggling to get enough protein. I did not realize that I was not eating nearly enough protein. I thought I did really well with protein. I struggled getting enough protein in. I was paying much closer attention to my portions. That is an important piece of this. Now, I have in my containers, I have a container here from Nuts, and I literally took my 1/4 cup and measurement cup, and I put it in the container so that it's there. I use chia seeds in my oatmeal. I have the measure for the chia seeds in the container with the chia seed. Go to the Dollar Tree, get some cheap cups. I even cut the handles off of them so that they fit into containers better, but pay attention to your portions. Now, will you always have to use measuring cups? Will you always have to, get out a scale and weigh things? I don't tend to weigh, I eyeball instead. You won't have to, because you'll start to learn what the right amount of meat looks like to be how many ounces that you want and all of that. But just to start, take that extra couple of minutes, measure your food, measure that rice when you're putting it. I think you'll actually be surprised at how much you get in a serving sometimes. I think sometimes you almost look at it and say, wow, that might actually be too much. I'm going to show you an example of that in a little bit when we get to using the tracker. And I still enjoyed treats, and I kept myself close to my macro goals, even with those treats. So that was important to me. I definitely have a sweet tooth. At least once a week, I like to have some ice cream. I don't overdo it, but I do like to have my treats every once in a while. All right, here it is. So this was April 14th, 2022. I took screenshots from the Lose It app to show you what my day looked like, what I ate during the day. And what you'll see is right here on the far left screen up at the top, this is where my macronutrients ended up. So this is from the Lose It app. This is what it calculated out. So I did pretty good. My carbs were just a little bit high, my protein a little bit low, and my fat was just a little bit high. Now, you can track this in grams or you could track this by percentages. I prefer by percentages because of that 40-30-30. That's just an easy way for me to look at this. So when you look down here, you'll see, okay, for breakfast, I had 520 calories that I ate for breakfast. I kind of eat twice in the morning because I'm one of those people that has to, excuse me, have something in my belly before I come over to teach classes. So I do my peanut butter toasted crackers or maybe a hard boiled egg. I kind of rotate between a couple of different things. But then this is my, I call it my power oatmeal that I eat basically every single day. And I'm going to show you how it's really easy if you eat the same things. Like if you have leftovers or what have you, it's very, very easy to bring that in to the your next day, or I'll show you when we get to the app, your next one. All right, so here's my lunch. For lunch, I call it dirty rice. I think I had it in one of my newsletters, but some turkey kielbasa with beans, corn, jasmine, rice. That was kind of my part of my lunch, which it was leftovers from the night before. Then I had a little pita, and I had this roasted chili and pepper cauliflower dip that's from Aldi, and it's absolutely wonderful. So this was a snack that I had in one of my newsletters. I took a pita bread and I crisped it up in my air fryer and then cut it up, and I used it to dip this wonderful cauliflower dip, which I love so much. And then over here for dinner, so I'm a huge fan of HelloFresh, and we had honey thyme, I think it was pork chops. But you'll see that even something like a HelloFresh meal, some of the information is already in the app. So it's, again, really easy. You can also create the meal if you needed to, if it wasn't available in the app. And then last but not least, here are some snacks that I had. This was actually one snack that I had. I think it was an evening snack. I did some non-fat Greek yogurt with a little bit of chocolate protein powder and some peanut butter, and just mixed that up, and it was a yummy little snack. Now, I will tell you, if you look at this bar up on the top of that first left screen, you'll see my fat, carbs, and protein. And you see that line in the protein. That line is there to show me where my calories should have stopped. So yes, I went over on my calories this day. I don't recall exactly how much I went over, but I went over on my calories today. And I'm here to tell you that's okay. Now, do I do it every day? No. Are there some days I'm below my calories? Some. It's okay. 80-20. We want to be spot on 80% of the time. We don't have to be perfect. Don't make yourself crazy doing this. All right. I'm going to pause for a moment again because it's time for us to go over to the app. Okay. So I purposely didn't finish filling in my information here for today's meals because I wanted to do it with you. But what I want to show you just quickly here, I'm going to go up to my picture, which is up in that top corner. And I tell you, I'm letting all the information be out here. You're going to see my weight and everything, but that's okay, because I do this for you guys. It's important. So when you put this app on your device, it can go on an iPad, it can go on a phone, what have you. You're going to go in and you're going to set up your profile. There's a good chance that it'll ask you to do this the first time that you go in. I've been using this for years on and off, so that's why obviously mine is already set up. But if I go into edit profile here, oh, I'm clicking on my screen, but I have to do it on my phone. This picture actually is, I was in Washington, D.C. There's the White House behind me. You're putting in your general information. Now, the reason that you're putting in this information is because it's going to use this information to determine what your caloric amount should be on a daily basis. And this is where I want to give you a little bit of a warning, okay? So you see right here that my weight loss plan is to lose a 0.5 pound per week. So I'm gonna go into that because you do have, I keep trying to click on the screen and I have to click on my phone. You do have the option to change that, okay? So here I am, 50-year-old, 5'4" female. This is the last time I weighed myself. You all know I hate the scale. I do not like the scale. However, for this purpose, I was getting on the scale, and I do it once a week. I get on the scale because I was trying this out. I was checking it myself to see how it worked. Okay. So this is the last time I got on, which is probably a week and a half ago. That's where I was. Okay. I started higher than that. Believe me, I was scared by the number I saw. Okay. My activity level. All right. So you could slide this bar here for activity level, depending on where your activity is. And if you go into the question mark, I didn't really want to do that, but it gives you, I'll go back in a second. So it gives you kind of, how do you determine your activity level? And here it shows you all the different, like where you should put yourself. Okay. I didn't put myself at extreme, even though everyone thinks I work out all day long. I don't. I am very active, but I did not do highly active. Okay. Down below here is where you go into how much I want to lose per week. Now, I want you to look at my caloric intake per day. This is what they're budgeting me, 1,921 calories per day, okay? Which I told you, you should be around the 2,000 mark. You can go lower than that, but not to go too low. I'm going to slide this to lose a pound per week. It gives me 1,671 calories, but watch what happens if I go beyond that. 1,421 calories is not enough calories. That is not good. And it even turns red, and they're saying that it's too aggressive if I go down further than that. Okay. I do not believe anyone should slide theirs any further. Maybe a half a pound, maybe a pound, but don't go further than that, because you're going to get into that hungry all the time and feeling really, really restricted. Okay. So keep that in mind. Try not to go below like 1,500 calories. Really, I'd rather see you anywhere from 2,000 to say 1,700. So I'm comfortable in this. I was a little bit lower before because I did have it at 1 pound. So I'm giving myself a little bit more grace here. And then down below, you just put in your goal weight. So you'll see where that comes into play. There's a graph later. So I put myself that I wanted to get to 135 pounds. You can do this for a while. You can restart and all that. But let's get back to, there's so many things here. I'm not going to go through everything because we could be here for hours and hours. Okay. But I'm just going to save that and come back out. You can attach trackers to this. So if you have any of these trackers, you can attach them to this. There's all these other things that you can do. I'll be honest with you. I don't use a ton of stuff because, again, I want it to be simple so that I will continue to use it, not get frustrated or not get overwhelmed. So honestly, I don't use a lot of this stuff, and that's okay. You don't have to. Also, you'll see up here, it says switch to premium. I only use the free plan. I do not pay for the Lose It app. It gives me enough information. You are going to see in several places as you do things, it's going to ask, do you want to do premium? Or it's going to say unlock by getting premium. I don't even know how much it costs. I'll be honest with you, because I've never looked into it because I don't feel that it's necessary. Okay. So let's go over to here. So as you can see, right here is my breakfast, okay, which I have not put anything into my breakfast, okay? As I told you, I basically eat the same thing every day. Well, the app is smart, and it's saying add yesterday's breakfast. So if I know that what I ate yesterday was the same thing that I had today, all I have to do is tap on that. And here's my breakfast: my protein powder, my chia seeds, my walnuts, my oats, my half an apple, and my peanut butter crackers. And if you noticed, I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but up here at the top, my macros changed. Okay. So not too bad. I do have some other food in there, but not too bad. I'm at 42 carbs, 31 protein. Excellent. Glad to see that protein up. And 27% fat. So that I'm really happy with where my macros are sitting right there. But I don't have all my food in for the day yet. Okay. So I'm going to slide down on here. I do have my lunch in. My lunch is actually the KFC chicken bowl that was in this past week's newsletter. It was leftovers. So here it is. Here's what I had. I had my leftovers, and that is part of what's being calculated in my macronutrients. My dinner I haven't put in yet. I had leftovers. I'm going to show you how easy it is to find a meal that you previously had. So I'll do that in 1 second. And I did have a snack earlier, but I'm going to show you how to put that snack in by kind of creating it, because I made myself a trail mix, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So before I get into that, any questions on this so far? Okay. So first I'm going to go to
Yes, I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
All right. I did once do a People's Choice or one of those other ones. And what I did is I had put 2 or 3 different breakfasts in. Can you have more than one breakfast on here? That's so because I had like breakfast 1, breakfast 2, breakfast 3.
Yeah.
Because
So
I basically had 3 breakfasts.
Yep. So I'm going to show you. So there's a lot of different ways to put things in here. So let me kind of start to show you the different ways to get to things. You can set things up yourself may create recipes, or you can go back to prior things that you use. So I'm gonna do my dinner for tonight. Okay. So I'm gonna tap the add dinner. Okay. And there's a couple of choices up top here. All right. So you could do search. So I can come up here and I can type in chicken breast. All right. And it's going to bring up different things. Okay. Now, one of the things that I want to tell you right now is that, again, you don't have to be perfect about this. Okay. Chicken breast, skinless, cooked, 281 calories, 6 ounces. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. This check over here means that it's been verified. If you see right here, verified, you can click on that little slide bar over there to say that you only want to see things that have been verified. It just means that someone behind the scenes has made sure that everything's okay. I don't leave that on just because there's a lot of things that haven't been verified that are out there. But anyway, okay. So you would select it. If you selected it, it would go into your meal. That's one way to select things. This barcode down here in this orange circle, you can scan, and I'm going to show you in a moment how to do that. You can scan the barcodes on the food, and it'll put in the information if it already exists in the app. And I'm going to show you that sometimes they're not 100% accurate. So you do have to watch them. Okay. You can also scan up top where it says scan food up top. Okay. My food. Okay. So this is a way so these are things that I've logged before. All right. So it's another way to search through some things that you've commonly used, what have you. Okay. Again, you can go up into the search bar and put in avocado, and it'll come up some things that you've used before. I love my pistachios. There they are. Okay. So another easy way to find it. This one I really love, and this is how I'm going to put in my dinner, which is meals. Okay. So I'm just sliding myself across that bar. So these are my prior meals that I have booked in here. Okay. So the meal that I had today was some leftovers. you get the thing that I like, leftovers. Okay. And it happens to have been the same lunch that I had on Monday. I'm okay with eating things more than once. We made a big stir fry. So what I can do is I click on lunch. And now what it's doing is it's giving me everything that I had for lunch that day. Okay. So yes, I had the pork tenderloin. It was part of the stir fry. I had the peppers. I had the onions. I had the jasmine rice. Okay. But today I didn't have the Greek yogurt. I didn't have the blueberries. I didn't have the walnuts, and I didn't have the vanilla pudding mix. Okay. So by unchecking those and now hitting the add button up in that top right-hand corner, it now added my lunch or my dinner in. I had it for dinner tonight. Okay. So there's my 295 calories. that I had for my dinner. And if we slide back up to the top, you'll see that my macronutrients have changed, okay? But once again, not bad, okay? I'm happy to be high in protein and low in fat. That's gonna change in a moment because of my snack. But here's a look at where things are. So if this is all that I had eaten today and I was looking for a snack, I would be very comfortable in having something that might be a little bit higher on the fat side, or something that was very equal, because these aren't super bad. Remember, I said they're guidelines. We don't have to hit them 100% of the time exactly on. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you with my snack how you can scan foods. Okay, so I made myself a little trail mix this afternoon. So I'm going to go into add snacks, okay? And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna touch that little barcode, okay? And you see that it wants to scan. So you're seeing my computer. Here's my nuts. I'm gonna scan the barcode, okay? And this is what comes up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a quick look at these items here and make sure that they agree with what's on my containers. 170 calories, yep, that's right. My serving size, 28 grams, yes, that's right. My fat, my sodium, total carbs, sugar. So all of these pieces of information are the same as what's on my container. So yes, I agree with that. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna hit add. Oops, I have to actually do it on my phone. Okay, so I just added the nuts, but I made a trail mix. So the next thing that I put in was raisins. So I'm gonna hit the barcode again. I'm gonna scan my raisins. Okay, now, what I will tell you on the raisins is that when I look at the container, the serving size is a quarter cup, and it's 120 calories. I did not want a quarter of cup of raisins in my trail mix. So what I did is I came over to here and I pulled down to see what my options were on my amounts. So it was originally at a quarter cup, but you could see that things are changing as I do this. And I said, I just wanted a tablespoon of raisins, because raisins have a lot of carbs in them. Okay, no fat, which is good, but high in carbs, low in protein. So I didn't want to really jump my carbohydrates up really high by having a quarter cup. Let's just look. If I had gone with 0.25, a quarter cup, so this is what it would have been. I would have been adding 31 grams of carbohydrates in this snack. And I didn't want to do that. So this is where this helps you make some better decisions. All right. I knew I wanted that sweetness of the raisins, but I didn't want that much. So I went to my tablespoons. Now, sometimes it's in grams, sometimes it's in cups and tablespoons and teaspoons and all of that. So you have to really pay attention to what you use. And sometimes, whoop, we don't want 1 cup. We want 1 tablespoon. Whoops. Okay. So I just added that in to my snack. All right. But I'm not done, because I told you all I have a sweet tooth, and I put a little bit of semi-sweet chocolate chips into my trail mix as well, because what's trail mix without a little bit of chocolate? So I just scanned that, okay? Now this is talking grams. You can see it says 14 grams. So I'm looking at my nutritional facts here, and sure enough, 14 grams is 1 serving, which is also a tablespoon. So I'm getting that off of the packaging on this one. 14 grams is 1 tablespoon. So I took my tablespoon and I stuck it in that bag, and I put my mini semi-sweet chocolate chips into my trail mix as well. Add. Okay. So that's all that I had in my trail mix. So now I'm going to go up to that top corner and I'm going to hit done. And now here it is. It shows up here under my snacks. There's my nuts that I had with my calories, my raisins that I had with my calories, and my semi-sweet chocolate chips with my calories. I had a 270 calorie snack this afternoon. All right. So sliding back up. Okay. I swear I didn't know where these were going to come out, but dang, look at that. Carbs at 41%, protein at 29%, and fat at 30%. So that's where I am with my day right now. Now, what I will tell you, if you slide over here, I still have 267 calories left. Do I need to eat those calories? I don't have to, but if I want to, I'm going to make sure that I pick something that's pretty darn close to my 40, 30, 30 macros, because my macros are almost spot on for the day. Okay. Now sliding over here, these are all things that you would have to upgrade if you want to look specifically at these other individuals. Now, if you're diabetic, if you have high blood pressure, some of these things might be good for you, and upgrading to the premium might be worth it. But that's not something that I'm concerned about. I like to look at the calories, where my total calories are, and I like to look, of course, at the macronutrients. There's still more on how to enter, but I want to pause there for a moment because that was a lot of information. What questions do you have at this point? Anyone?
So can you also change that for like, let's say that your dinner portion was different than your lunch portion the other day. You could have just increased that by saying,
Excellent.
all right, I didn't have 6 ounces of,
Yep.
4 ounces of pork tenderloin. I had 6.
Yep. That is a wonderful question. And thank you for asking, because I probably would have forgotten. So let's go back into my dinner. Okay. So I just tapped on that pork tenderloin, and right here, I could change it to my 6. It does all the other math up top. It changes my calories. It changes everything. And then I hit my check or save button. Either one will do the same thing. And now when I slide back up, you could see how my macros did a little shift there. My protein went up because it was my pork tenderloin that I had more of. My carbs went down a little bit, and my fat scooted right at that 30. So absolutely. And you can do that with anything in here. So I'm just going to slide back down and hit my pork tenderloin again. I'm going to put it back to my 4 ounces and hit my save. If, you know, a lot of times with my leftovers, I might not have quite as much rice. You can go in here and you can change any of those particular items. Even though I pulled it from a previous meal, if your portions were different, yes. Thank you for that question. That was a wonderful question.
Okay.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Once you maintain your, like you lose some weight with it, how do you maintain this?
So what's going to happen is you're going to once in a while go in, like I said, you are going to step on that scale once in a while. You are going to put that data in, which let me go here. Okay. So you'll see there's a lot of little locks there. That again is stuff that's on the premium, but the weight is not on a lock. So if I went into the weight, okay, I can go in here and I can put in, let's say I got to my 135. I'm just going to put that in.
Right.
Can I get to it? 135. Okay. So great. I lost 10 pounds. I hit my goals, all of that. So what happens now is that, so I've reached that weight. It's going to recalculate my calories going forward. Now, I'm not sure if it'll actually do it right now because I'm in the middle of a day. Probably not. It did. So did you notice my calories changed a little bit? I think it was like 1971
right.
or something like
I
that.
see it.
So the system is going to, depending on the data that you put into it, remember, data is only as good as, it can only spit out as good as what you put into it. It's going to change this now and keep it. Now, the other thing that I would also do if I hit my goal is I can go back into my profile and I can change this over here to say maintain current weight. All right. So see what it did now. Now I get 2,153 calories because I'm no longer trying to lose weight. I hit my weight that I wanted to hit. I want to do a maintain. This is now telling me, and I will continue to track.
Oh, yeah. But I was just wondering because a lot of times you go on these and then all of a sudden you're back to where you were.
Right. And that's why I don't want you to look at this as a diet. I want you to look at this as a new way of being healthy is what I like to call it.
I get it. Yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anything else, please?
No, not now.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? All right. So I want to show you just a couple more things. We're still doing okay on time. I'm going to try not to take up all of the 90 minutes, but I'm really excited about the questions that are coming up. So I hope that this is you're understanding this. So I want to show you. So I'm going to add a snack. I will delete it when I'm done, and I'm going to scan something. Okay, so this is some almonds, some sliced almonds. And now this is saying, so first thing right off the bat, when I look at the label is saying that the serving size is a 1/4 cup or 30 grams, okay? So this is fine that it's saying 9 because I'm gonna change that to 30 grams, okay? So at 30 grams, according to the package, it should be 170 calories. So this is where I'm telling you, it's not a perfect system and you've got to look at the numbers. Okay, so now I know this should be 170 calories and this is wrong. I'm gonna slide down here to where it says edit nutritional information. And here it is. Now I could change the name of it. I could change the icon. I don't care about that stuff. The serving size is now right, but the calories is wrong. So I need to go to the calories and I need to put in 170 calories, okay? My fat is supposed to be 15 grams. My saturated fat, this is all just coming off of the label, is 1. All right, no cholesterol, no sodium, yay. Down to my carbohydrates, 6 grams. My dietary fiber, 4 grams. Sugars, 1 gram. And my protein should be 6 grams. Save. Okay, so now you'll see that if I were to hold my bag right up next to it with all the information on my nutrition label, it is now matching the information that's in there and that's now saved, okay? This is saving this in the database, okay? It's not to say that somebody can't go in and screw it up again because they can. But for the most part, I have found that when I change things and I use them again, they do stay true to what I have changed them to. But it's always worth a quick look, always worth a quick look. Okay, I'm gonna cancel that because I didn't want to add that, but I do want to show you a couple more things. So I'm gonna go into search. I told you I'm a big fan of HelloFresh. So I'm gonna pick a HelloFresh meal. I'm trying to pick something that I know I haven't had recently because there's a good chance I would have fixed it. No, okay, that's not a good example. It might take me a couple to find. Okay, here's an example that I'm looking for. All right, so this lemon chive chicken from HelloFresh, all that was put in was the calories. Nothing else was entered. All right, now you can go on to HelloFresh's website. If I'm not mistaken, they have all of the nutritional information, and you can do the same thing like I did on that other one, and I can go down and edit and I could put in the actual information. But I just wanted you to see that this could happen. You can even scan something that when that person originally scanned it and put it into the system, they didn't bother filling out the information because maybe they weren't tracking their macros. Maybe they were only tracking their calories. So that's all they cared about. So they put in the calories and they did it the lazy way and didn't care that other people might use it too. I mean, it is what it is. But you can go in and you can put in this information. So again, just beware that that can happen. All right. I'm going to go over to this bar over here, which is recipes. So this meatloaf a la mom happens to be a HelloFresh. I didn't specifically put it in as a HelloFresh, but when I went into it, it didn't have all of its pieces. It didn't have all of this information. So I created it as a recipe. So this is also something like you were talking about the breakfast. Like if I wanted to create my my oatmeal, instead of having all this specific pieces, because I always make my oatmeal the same way, I can go in and create a recipe. So I'm just gonna mess around and create something. It's not gonna be anything real, but yeah, I could do my oatmeal. Oh my goodness. If I could spell. All right, oatmeal. Okay, so now what I would need to do is I would need to say, okay, what's my serving size? So let's say it's one cup. Where's my cup? Oh, look, they're in alphabetical order. I didn't even realize that. Okay, so 1 cup, let's just say. Again, I'm just kind of making this up just to show you. All right, and now I'm going to add food to that. So I'm going to say I want to search for, or I could scan. You could see I have the thing I could scan. Rolled oats, 1/2 cup, sure, add that. Okay, go back over to my recipe. I need to, I might not have to, oh yeah, edit recipe. So I've got to continue to add food to my recipe. Okay, so I'm going to put in blueberries. Search for it. I got to come over here to search. So that's what's kind of messing me up a little bit. Okay, done. All right. So as you can see, I'm building my oatmeal recipe. So I would just continue to add food, find the food or scan it until I got what I wanted. And then I now have that as a recipe. Whoops. I'm not sure why I'm getting that error. Adding food, you cannot add a recipe as an ingredient of itself. Oh, that's because I'm hitting something wrong. Cancel.
You put them both as oatmeal.
Oh, I did. So I did something kooky on it. Okay. So anyway, what I'm trying to show you is now, if you wanted to, see if I can get out of this. Oh, I just lost it. But now if I wanted to, if I was adding, let's say I'm going to add a snack, I could go to my recipes and it would be there if I did it right. But of course, because I'm live doing this, I did it wrong. But I can say, add that into my meals for the day. Okay. And then down here in my snack, I'm going to have that meatloaf. Okay. But I don't want that there. So all I got to do is slide over and delete that. Okay, so you can go in and create a recipes. I didn't show that as well as I could have, but you can put all your pieces together and have that be something that you can then go and select, instead of, like, you could see here, here's the actual oatmeal that I do eat. Here's all the pieces. But again, it's really simple to go and say, hey, use my meal from a prior day. And maybe one day I put in blueberries instead of apples, and I could switch that one piece out instead of having it all be together as part of the recipe. All right. More questions. I'm going to go over to.
So Mel?
Yes.
This is similar to my Fitness Pal, right?
Very similar. Yes. Very similar. My Fitness Pal works. My son actually uses my Fitness Pal. He's big on tracking his macros, but he's tracking his macros to gain weight. So you can do it for that as well. But yes, so he uses my Fitness Pal, and he said you can do the same type of thing. I think recipes is called something a little bit different. But you can add things in, you can scan things. Yeah. So there.
Yeah, because I used to use that before.
Yep.
And this is similar.
Yeah. All right,
Thank you.
so Kathy sent me a chat. I just saw it and I'm giggling a little bit. What about 2 glasses of wine at dinner? So you're gonna do, let me go back over to, see if I could bring my phone back up onto the screen. You do the same thing. Hopefully it's gonna, there we go. All right, you're gonna add, and you're gonna go, let's say dinner. I'm gonna go to search and I'm gonna say wine and whatever kind, okay? So right there, it's bringing up your red wine, all right? And how many ounces did you have? If you had 2 glasses, were they 4 ounces each? Was it 8 ounces worth? You put them in, and there you go. Again, you know, I'm looking to see, does the information over here look right? Is there a label on the bottle? Which a lot of times there's probably not a label on your wine bottle, but oh, my sleep thing just went on. But yeah, that type of stuff is in there as well. So and that's a really good point, Kathy, because don't forget, unless you're just drinking water, you need to log the beverages that you're drinking too. A huge mistake that people make is maybe having that glass of wine and not logging it. There's carbs in your wine. There is, you know, fruit juice. I'm not a huge fan of fruit juice because you're losing the fiber because all you're getting is the juice and it's really high in carbs. But you gotta put that stuff in too. If you want to be true to yourself, don't cheat, put everything in and get a feel for it. See where you land with things. It's not terribly daunting. I don't feel hungry. My cravings have gone down incredibly. Do I still have that treat once in a while? Yes, I do. I was actually looking for one of my days where I had like ice cream and cheesecake and stuff like that. It's usually Sunday because I go grocery shopping Sunday. So I get a treat for myself and my husband. But I use, so 2 important treat tricks is when I did get the cheesecake, I didn't buy a whole cheesecake. I didn't make a cheesecake. Down at Aldi, they have the little container that has 2 little pieces of cheesecake. And that's what I got for our treat. He got a piece, I got a piece. When it was gone, because then you can't go back and have more, and I can't have it every day. That's one of my rules about a treat. Get individual servings so that you're not having too much. True confessions, usually once a week, and actually it's in my refrigerator right now, so it might be my snack when I get home tonight. I get a pint of ice cream and we literally take a knife out and we cut it in half and we each have the pint, because if I bought 2 pints, we would each eat the whole darn pint. So again, it's about that mindfulness. It's about not having that extra stuff around and eating it just because it's there. Because let me tell you, I am absolutely guilty of doing stuff like that. All right, more questions. What else do you have? Oh, it wants to see me. Other questions?
No, I signed up for I'm in the process of signing up for the app, and it's asking if I want a 7-day trial and then $39.99 a year. And then there's a button that says try free and subscribe. So I'm afraid to hit that button because I don't want to subscribe. I want to use the free app.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Did anyone else come up with that? Because I've had it on my phone. I have to tell you, I've had it on my phone for probably 10 years.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you pick out when you look in the app, the Apple app, that you get the free one, because they had 2 different ones.
Okay. So it should, let me go.
Lose it free.
Okay,
That's
let me go back over here. So this is what it should look like. It should look like this orange scale, and it's lose it exclamation point. I honestly didn't realize there were 2 different ones out there, so thank you for that. But yes, I totally agree. You do not need to subscribe. The free one works just fine. And if you cannot find it on Lose It, like I said, MyFitnessPal is another free one. Again, they all have premium plans too, because obviously they want you to pay them money, but you don't need them. So yeah, definitely double check on that before you click.
what I've got, but maybe things have changed since you signed up 10 years ago. I don't know. I'll figure it out and let you know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Did anyone else download it today?
I did, Mel.
And
Jane.
did you?
And I found the same thing that Andrea found. So I thought, I'm not paying $40 a year for this.
Right.
So I went back, I closed out of it, and the free app is working.
Okay.
Yeah, mine's working.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
But so
I did the same thing.
I guess the thing that you just have to be mindful of is it going to charge? Because what it'll do is it'll charge your iTunes account from the app. Is it going to charge you after that free trial? You need to make sure that it does not charge you. Please be mindful of that, because I realize that, yeah, you don't want it to do that.
I got out of, I pushed, I don't know whether I went back, like somebody said, out of free trial, and it just went, to open, and,
Okay.
they didn't get anything.
Okay. Good. Just watch it though after that 7 days. Just watch it after that 7 days. All right. Anything else? Any other?
I have a question, Mel.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of when I'm looking at this and listening to it is that this would be very good for people who are pre-diabetic or have diabetes,
Yes.
because they actually get a clear sense of what they're putting into themselves.
Yes, and on that, and that's where I was showing a little bit on the app, where if you did the premium, it is going to give you some additional things that you can track. So that could be having the premium for something like that could be beneficial, because it is specifically looking at your sugars. But even just with the free one, it's still giving you a lot of really helpful information. So yes, absolutely. Yeah. And your salt, the sodium, all that stuff.
Now I have a question, Jane.
Yes.
It seems like protein is really important. Am I correct?
The most important. Yes. So protein, and I don't want to go into a ton of details, because like I said, I'm not a dietitian, but protein is so important for your body. You need it throughout the day. So one of the things that dietitians and nutritionists really talk a lot about is to always try to have some type of protein in every meal and every snack. So you'll see the snack that I put in, that trail mix. I had the protein there. Yes, there was some carbohydrates. Yes, there was some fat. It was that trail mix was a really nice mix. I was really happy with how it came out. But it's important to have that protein. Remember that protein, it's doing a couple of things, right? It's filling you up. So it's helping satisfy you, but it's also helping with that, with the calorie burning. The proteins is high off the chart as far as getting that extra calorie burn. And on top of it, it helps enzyme digestion. I'm reading off of my notes. It helps transport nutrients. It helps your hormones. It helps support your immune system. It helps your body maintain normal pH. It gives you energy. The amino acids that you get out of it, so important on supporting your blood, on supporting your muscles, especially important after workouts for your blood regeneration. Super important to have that protein in there. What else? We got the big question mark on the screen. Anything else?
I'll ask you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Andrea.
No, I was going to say thank you. This was really great.
Yeah, thanks, Mel.
You're very welcome.
This was very informative. I really enjoyed it.
Any other questions? I just threw up my information here. So of course I have to give a quick plug for Coach Mel's Group Fitness. So thank you so much for joining me. We brushed over that exercise is important, but you all know It is super important. It is so important to keep ourselves moving, to keep ourselves healthy. It is my mantra, be healthy before you need to be healthy, but we need to have both, right? We need to be aware of what we're putting into our bodies, and we need to have our exercise. So both of them need to be there. So for those of you who are watching on the replay, some of you may be seeing this that are not very familiar with Coach Mel's group fitness. We do live classes, we do live virtual classes, and they also have pre-recorded classes. So there are several different ways that you could take classes at Coach Mel's. All of my contact information is there on the screen. Please feel free, call, text, email, however you would like. Actually, my email's not on there. I just realized that. It's mel@coachmels.com. I think it might be on the other side of the card, but yeah, so feel free to reach out with me with any questions. If something strikes you afterwards from this, here's a good point that I'm going to make, because this question did come up with one of my clients that is doing this. Something like Easter, something like a celebration, an event where you're picking this and that, and what do you do on a day like that? Do you need to do things different if you know you're going to have that meal, or you're going to go out to dinner or whatever? I like to say, you know, a mulligan in golf where you make that really bad shot and you're like, I need a do-over. It's okay once in a while to have one of those days. Okay, once in a while. It's not all the time, but if once in a while you say, you know what, I'm going to put that tracking aside today. I'm going to enjoy myself. It's a special event, what have it. Once in a while, that is perfectly fine. It's not going to throw you off of the rails. You'll get back to it the next day. So don't make your day revolve around this. Use it to make good food choices, is what I will say.
Right.
All right. Anything else?
I just want to say thank you for doing all this, because
I know.
You're
Thanks
very
so much.
welcome. I enjoyed it. I hope you
Yeah.
get that feeling from the energy that I have when I talk about stuff like this, because you know, one of the biggest benefits that I've seen, not only did I lose some weight, and again, I don't like the scale, but my non-scale victory is that my knees are not swelling as much as they were before I started paying attention to this. So there's so many added benefits to your body for paying attention to the food that we are eating.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, I said I wasn't going to take the whole hour and a half, and I just about did. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
But I'm
Thanks, Mel.
so excited
Thank
to do
you.
all this.
Thanks, Mel.
You are
Great
very welcome.
Thank you, Mel.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye,
you all for
everybody.
coming.
Bye-bye. Great job.
See ya. Thank you.